Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Native Echo Podcast, where we make English simple and enjoyable. I'm Harper, and today I'm flying solo. Julian is not here today, so it is just you and me. And honestly, I kind of like it. It feels like we are sitting in a quiet corner of a cafe, just talking. No rush, no noise, just English, just us. So grab your coffee or your tea or whatever you have near you right now, and let's get into today's topic. Because today we are talking about something that comes up in almost every single conversation you will ever have in English. And most learners never really think about it directly. They just use it without knowing they are using it. Or sometimes they struggle with it and they do not know exactly why. We are talking about cause and effect. How to explain why something happened. How to connect one idea to another. How to sound logical, natural, and clear when you speak or write in English. And I want to start with something real. Something that actually happened to me. A few weeks ago, I was on a call with someone I had never spoken to before. It was a work call, a little bit formal. And at one point, they asked me, "So, why did you decide to go in this direction?" And I knew the answer. I had a clear reason in my head. But when I opened my mouth, what came out was something like, because, it was just, I thought it would be better, so. And then I kind of stopped, and there was this pause. And I thought, okay, that made no sense. The idea was there, the reason was there, but the connection between the reason and the result, that part was broken. And that is exactly what cause and effect language fixes. It gives you a bridge between why something happened and what happened because of it. So today, we are going to build that bridge together. And we're going to do it the way I love doing things, through real life, through stories, through moments you will actually recognize. Let me start with the most basic idea. What is cause and effect, really? A cause is the reason something happens, the thing that starts everything. The effect is the result, the thing that happens because of the cause. That is it. Simple. But in English conversation, the way you connect these two things, the words you use, the structure you choose, that changes everything. Think about it this way. Imagine you are late to meet a friend. They ask you, "Why are you late?" You could say, "I missed the bus." Short, clear, fine. But in a real conversation, you usually want to say more. You want to explain. You want to connect. So you might say, "I was late because I missed the bus." Or, "I missed the bus, so I was late." Or, "Due to missing the bus, I arrived late." Or even, "Since the bus left without me, I had no choice but to walk." All of these sentences describe the same situation, but they feel different. They sound different. And knowing when to use which one, that is the skill we are building today. Let's go through the main ways to express cause and effect in English, and I will give you a real story or a real moment for each one, because that is how things actually stay in your memory. The first and most common word is because. Because introduces the cause, the reason. You put it right before you explain why something happened. I stayed home because it was raining. I felt nervous because it was my first day. She smiled because she finally understood. Because is the most natural, the most everyday word for this. It flows. It does not sound formal. It does not sound stiff. It just sounds like a real person talking. I remember one afternoon I was supposed to go to a friend's birthday dinner, and I did not go. And when she asked me why, I said, I could not make it because I had the worst headache of my life. And she completely understood. She did not need more explanation. Because did all the work. Now, here is something small but important. Where you put because in the sentence changes the emphasis slightly. Watch this. Because it was raining, I stayed home. I stayed home because it was raining. Both are correct. Both mean the same thing. But the first one puts the rain first, makes it feel more significant. The second one feels more casual, more like something you would say in a quick conversation. This is a tiny detail, but it is the kind of thing that makes your English feel natural and not just technically correct. The second word I want to talk about is so. And so is the opposite direction from because. Instead of introducing the cause, so introduces the effect, the result, what happened after. It was raining, so I stayed home. I had a headache, so I skipped the dinner. She finally understood, so she smiled. So feels very conversational, very easy, very everyday. And I think this is actually one of the first words language learners pick up, and that is great. But sometimes people use it so much that it becomes a habit without thinking. I once had a conversation with someone who used so in every single sentence. And after a while, I lost track of what was a cause and what was an effect because everything was connected to everything. It sounded like a chain that never stopped. And that is when you know it is time to mix your language up a little. The third structure I want to introduce is as a result and as a result of. This one is a little more formal. You might use it when you are explaining something at work, in a presentation, in a written message, or in a situation where you want to sound a little more organized and clear. It rained heavily. As a result, the match was canceled. She studied every day. As a result of her hard work, she passed with a high score. As a result comes at the beginning of the second sentence. It signals to the listener, okay, now I am telling you what happened because of that thing. It gives them a moment to prepare for the conclusion. I used this recently when I was explaining to a colleague why a deadline had moved. I said, the original plan changed several times. As a result, we had to push the deadline back by a week. And they nodded immediately. It was clear, it was professional, and it felt organized, even though the situation was a little chaotic. Now let me talk about therefore, because therefore is one of those words that a lot of learners recognize but are not sure when to use naturally. And the answer is, therefore is similar to as a result, but it feels a little more logical, a little more like you are drawing a conclusion. She did not study. Therefore, she failed the exam. The budget was too small. Therefore, we had to make changes to the plan. Therefore is often found in formal writing, in academic texts, in professional emails. But you can also use it in spoken English when you want to sound deliberate, when you want someone to feel the weight of your conclusion. I think of therefore as the word you use when you want to say, obviously, this is what follows. There is no other logical outcome. The cause leads directly, clearly, inevitably to this effect. The fifth expression I want to talk about is due to and owing to. These two are very close in meaning. Due to and owing to both introduce the cause, but they are typically followed by a noun or a noun phrase, not a full sentence. Due to the rain, the event was canceled. Owing to her experience, she got the job easily. Due to a technical problem, the video call was delayed. These expressions sound formal and polished. You will hear them in news reports, in official announcements, in business communication, but they are also genuinely useful in everyday life when you want to give a clear, concise reason without a long explanation. I remember hearing an announcement at a train station once. It said, due to engineering works, this service will not stop at the next station. And even though I was a little frustrated, I appreciated the clarity. Due to did exactly what it needed to do. It connected the reason to the situation quickly and cleanly. Now I want to talk about since and as. These are two words that express cause in a slightly softer way. They are used when the reason is already known, or when you are offering it as background information, rather than a brand new piece of information. Since it was getting late, we decided to leave. As she was tired, she went to bed early. Since you already know the rules, I will not repeat them. Since and as feel like you are saying, given this situation, here is what happened. They have a gentle, almost obvious quality, like you are not making a big announcement, you are just providing context. I use since a lot when I am trying to sound calm and reasonable in a conversation, like when I want to explain a decision without making it sound like a big deal. Since the restaurant was full, we just grabbed food from the place next door. It works. It fits. It does not over dramatize anything. There is one more structure I want to cover today, and it is one that I personally find really elegant when used well. It is the phrase, this led to, or this resulted in. These are useful when you are telling a story, when you are describing a sequence of events. When one thing happened, and because of that, something else happened, and you want to describe that journey clearly. She started reading for just 10 minutes a day. This led to a habit. The habit led to finishing 3 books in a month. The books led to new ideas, and the new ideas led to a decision that changed her career. Do you see how that works? Each cause becomes the next effect, and then that effect becomes the new cause. Life is actually like that most of the time. Things lead to other things. Events connect. And this led to, and this resulted in, let you show that chain beautifully. I think about this when I look back at certain moments in my own life. I missed a flight once. This led to spending an extra day in a city I had never planned to stay in. That extra day led to a conversation with a stranger in a small bookshop. That conversation led to one of the most interesting friendships I have ever had. Every cause became an effect. Every effect became a cause. And that is actually a really important thing to understand about cause and effect language. It is not just grammar. It is not just vocabulary. It is a way of thinking. When you learn to express cause and effect clearly, you start to see the world more clearly too. You notice connections. You understand why things happen, and you can explain those connections to other people in a way they will follow. Let me pause here for a second and just check in with you. We have covered because, so, as a result, therefore, due to, since, and as, and this led to. That is a lot, and I do not want you to feel like you need to memorize all of them right now and use them perfectly tomorrow. What I want you to do is notice. Start listening for these words. When you watch a show in English, when you listen to a podcast, when you read something, look for the cause and effect language. You will find it everywhere. And every time you notice it, your brain gets a little bit more comfortable with it. Now, let me give you a very practical section, because I know some of you are learners who need something you can use today. Not in theory, not someday, today. So here are some real situations and how you would use cause and effect language in them. Situation 1. You are at work and your project is delayed. Someone asks why. You could say, the project is behind schedule because we received the designs later than expected. As a result, we had to adjust the entire timeline. We are now working quickly to catch up, but due to the delay, we may need an extra few days. Notice how natural that sounds? Because gives the reason. As a result shows the consequence. Due to the delay acknowledges the situation without drama. Situation 2. You are explaining to a friend why you decided to move to a new neighborhood. You could say, I moved because my old apartment was too noisy. Since I work from home, I really needed quiet. So I started looking for something different. I found this place, and honestly, it has been great. The change really led to a much better routine for me. That is a real conversation. That is how people talk. Short sentences, mixed structures, natural and easy to follow. Situation 3. You are writing a message to cancel plans with someone. You could say, I am so sorry, but I have to cancel tonight. I have not been feeling well since yesterday, so I do not want to push myself. Due to how I am feeling, I think staying home is the right call. I really hope we can reschedule soon. Again, natural, polite, clear. The cause and effect language makes the message feel honest and organized without feeling cold or robotic. Now, I want to talk about something that I think is underrated when it comes to cause and effect language, and that is the emotional side. We use cause and effect language not just to explain logical events. We use it to explain feelings, to explain choices, to explain things that are hard to put into words. I left that job because I was not happy. That is a cause and effect sentence, but it carries so much weight. It carries months of thought, of small moments, of conversations and silences. And because takes all of that and puts it into a connection that someone else can understand. I stayed because I was scared. I did not say anything because I did not know how. I kept going because I had no other choice. These sentences are simple, but they are full. And when you can express these kinds of thoughts clearly in English, something shifts. You feel more yourself. You feel more present in the conversation. Because language is not just about information, it is about connection. And that brings me to something I want to leave you with today. A lot of people think that learning English is about collecting words. And yes, vocabulary matters. But what really changes your English is learning how to connect ideas. Because when your ideas are connected clearly, people do not just understand your words, they understand you. Cause and effect language is one of the most powerful tools for that. It tells people how you think. It shows them the logic behind your choices. It lets them follow your story from beginning to end without getting lost. So today, I have one small challenge for you. Think about something that happened recently in your life. Something small is completely fine. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you changed your plans. Maybe you felt something unexpected. And I want you to write 3 sentences about it. One sentence using because, one sentence using as a result, and one sentence using this led to. That is it. Just 3 sentences. Put them in the comments if you want, or keep them in your notebook, or just say them quietly to yourself while you make your coffee. But do it, because that small action of actually using the language, that is what moves it from something you understand to something you own. All right, before we close, let me do a quick word tour. The key language from today. Because. This introduces the cause, the reason something happened. I stayed home because it was raining. So, this introduces the effect. What happened as a result? It was raining, so I stayed home. As a result, a more formal way to show the effect. It comes at the beginning of a new sentence. It rained heavily. As a result, the match was canceled. Therefore, shows a logical conclusion, used in formal and deliberate speech. The budget was too small. Therefore, we had to make changes. Due to. Introduces the cause using a noun or noun phrase. Due to the rain, the event was canceled. Since and as. Softer ways to give a reason that is already known or obvious. Since it was getting late, we decided to leave. This led to. Used in storytelling to show how one thing caused another. Missing the flight led to an unexpected extra day in the city. That is your word tour for today, and that is the episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really do love these solo episodes because it feels like I get to talk directly to you, just you and me and the language between us. If this episode helped you even a little bit, please subscribe to Native Echo Podcast. It means so much, and it helps us reach more learners just like you. And if you have a friend who is learning English, share this episode with them. Tell them Harper says hello. I will be back very soon. Until then, keep listening, keep practicing, and remember that every sentence you build in English is a cause, and the effect is a better, more confident you. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.